Hello guys, today we are going to learn about Introduction to Thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is a very important subject in mechanical engineering. In this lecture, we will learn some basic concept of thermodynamics in very simple way. We will learn what is thermodynamics, what is system, what is surrounding, what is boundary. Okay, so let's start with the basic question. What is thermodynamics? The word thermodynamics come from Greek word. Okay, and the word thermodynamics, there are two parts. First one is thermo and second one is dynamics. Thermo means heat and dynamics means motion. Then heat in motion is thermodynamics. Then what is heat? Heat is nothing but one form of energy, and it is transferred due to the temperature gradient. Means heat is always transferred higher to lower temperature. That is the thing. And what is motion? Motion means transfer or change of energy. It is motion. And what is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics means it is the branch of science that deal with heat, work, energy and their transformation. Okay. And if we see an example, then it is hot tea. Imagine we are going to make a hot tea. When we put the tea on the stove, heat is transferred stove to the tea. Okay. For this heat, temperature of the tea will be increases, right? And when we put the tea on the surrounding, at the time tea temperature will be decreases due to temperature gradient. Because of heat is always transferred higher to lower temperature. Because of surrounding temperature is low and tea temperature is higher, that's why heat is transferred higher to lower temperature, right? That means there are transferring energy, right? And this is all about thermodynamics. Now, to study the thermodynamics, we first need to understand the concept of thermodynamic system, surrounding and boundaries, right? And what is system? System is the part of universe that we choose to study. Okay. And what is surrounding? Everything outside the system is surrounding. Okay. And what is boundary? It is the surface that separates the system from its surrounding. Okay, let's see an example. Imagine we are having a cup of tea, right? The tea in the cup is system. Okay. And what is system? And outside the system, that means tea is a system, and everything outside the system is surrounding. This is surrounding. Okay. And what is boundary? And the boundary is, it is the surface or layer. Boundary is that layer that separate system and surrounding. This is system and surrounding. This is boundary. Then now, and these three terms are related. Okay, related to each other. Then types of system. Okay, system is three types. First one is open system. And what is open system? In that system, mass and energy both can transfer. Okay. And second one is the closed system. In the closed system, only energy can transfer. No mass transfer in that system. Okay. And third one is the isolated system. What is isolated system? In that isolated system, there is no transfer. Means no mass nor energy transfer. Okay. Then what is the example of open system? Example of open system is open water bottle. Okay. And what is the example of closed system? You can say closed water bottle or can. Okay. And isolated system, that means in that system there are no mass or energy transfer. Nothing can be transferred in that system. Then what will be the example? We can think thermoflux, because when we put the tea on this thermoflux, there is no heat or mass transfer. Though thermoflux is a is not a perfect isolated system in real life. Suppose we keep hot water in the thermoflux. After some time, it become cooler. This means a small amount of heat is transferred to surrounding. So, thermoflux is only an approximate example of an isolated system. Then, the standard example is universe. The universe is considered as an isolated system because it does not exchange mass or energy with anything outside the universe. Okay, let's see the thermodynamics property. What is thermodynamics property? In a system, that characteristics we can measure and use to describe a state of the system. Okay, that means in a system there are too many characteristics. In that characteristics we can measure, and it is used to describe the state of the system. This is thermodynamic property, right? Let's assume we have a system, and every system can have many characteristics such as temperature, pressure, volume, density, mass, etc. Among these, the measurable quantities that describe the condition or state of the system are called thermodynamics properties. Okay, means pressure, temperature, volume, and density are thermodynamics property, right? Types of thermodynamics property. First one is intensive property, that does not depend on the amount of mass. Okay, and second one is extensive property, it is depend on the amount of mass. Okay, let's see the example of intensive property. Suppose we are having a glass of water, the temperature is 30 degree. Okay, if we divided the water into the two parts, then no changes of temperature, right? No changes in temperature even after added the mass. If we add there any mass, then no changes of the temperature. Temperature will be the same. The volume will be the increases, but temperature will be the same. That's why it is the intensive property. And what is the example of extensive property? Suppose we have a 1 kg of water, right? If we add there another 1 kg of water, the total mass will be the 2 kg, right? So mass depend on the extensive property. Okay, so today we learn what thermodynamics is, what surrounding, what boundaries, types of system, and the properties, and the difference between extensive and intensive properties, right? In the next classes we will understand more about thermodynamic state, process, and equilibrium. Okay, thank you guys.